Hello, athletes and fans of bodybuilding. Terrick Guindy with the Mr. Olympia. Today, we have one of the most dominant athletes at the Mr. Olympia stage. He won the title convincingly, coming off of the Arnold, where he placed second, and he regained the title at the Mr. Olympia. He's known to be the King Kong of bodybuilding. His name is Harold Kelly. Welcome, Harold. How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Thank you for joining us. Also with us, IFBB Pro Nick Scott, who also competed against Harold Kelly, and prior to the live said he will come back and challenge Harold on stage in 2023. Good evening, Nick Scott.
Hey, Derek. How you doing?
Doing good. And with us, the 2000 Mr. USA's, he's the voice of bodybuilding, Bob Ciccarillo. Good evening, Bob.
What's up, Derek? How you doing, boys?
Great.
Good. Thank you so much. So, Harold, the 2022 season was a season where you won the Olympia, but prior to that, you competed at the Arnold and you came in short. Gabriele Andriuli was able to defeat you at the Arnold Classic. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, sir. You did.
What happened there? Was he just a much improved bodybuilder? Was Harold Kelly not as good as we are used to seeing? What happened there?
Well, there's a few things involved. Actually, both of what you just said. He definitely was a much improved bodybuilder. Because every year, all the guys are, honing in and getting sharper and getting better at their art. And at the same time, I didn't bring my best to the table. A few things that was going on in my camp outside the bodybuilding world, I was focused on and lost focus, didn't put all the 110% focus towards it. And therefore, that's the results when you don't put, 110% towards what you're doing. So, took an L that there and, and didn't hurt at all, really. Gabe is a good guy to lose to. He's an excellent mentor. I mean, he's a good guy, man. He's been fighting for years to get the title. And if anybody win it, I'm honored to have, him win it. And then have to step back and look at myself again, regroup, which what we did coming for the Olympia. Because the Olympia and the Arnolds, I respect the Arnold, but you're not gonna get the Olympia from it that easy. So when you put all those eggs in the basket at the Olympia, now we talk another whole game plan.
So when Ronnie Coleman was defeated at the GNC Show of Strength in New Orleans, many people believe that his performance in 2003 was triggered by his defeat. And we had the impression when we talk about Harold Kelly, let me add here the legend Flex Wheeler. Good evening, Flex.
How you doing? It's Black Santa Claus. How you guys doing?
Doing good. When we talk about Ronnie Coleman having the performance in 2003, many people believe it was triggered by his defeat to a Gunter in 2002. And you were a little bit less affectionate at the check-ins at the Mr. Olympia, if I can say that. It looked like you had a little bit of, I'm here to win my title and to cement I am the best wheelchair bodybuilder. And I like Andrew, but he's about to experience an L. Is that correct? Did you have a little bit of anger coming up to the Olympia?
No, I'm not saying anger. A little more direction, a little more seriousness. I could say a little more. I would say that again. I didn't lose a title. That I won, 5 years in a row, Mr. Olympia. So I didn't ever lose my title. I lost the Arnold, but the Olympia and the Arnold is two different things. So I just basically want to put myself back in a position to where it's non-questionable, to me winning the Olympia. So my focus, from getting ready, prepping for the Olympia, I know what I didn't do for the Arnold. I mean, I literally know what I didn't do. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And coming into the Olympia, when you hear this and you hear that, what about this guy? What about he finally lost? And no one know what you experienced when you was getting ready. and that's what the media sees, that loss. But you never see the possibilities of what was going on in the back scene. And I knew what was going on in the back scene.
Bob, is it wrong to walk into a show and have that type of confidence? Not arrogance, because it seems like he backed it up 5 times. So is it wrong to walk in and like the king is here, the champ is here?
No, listen, he's got every right to walk in as the champ. And, me and Harold have had this conversation. He got caught sleeping. It's that simple. Listen, it happens to the best sometimes. It happened to Ronnie with Gunther, the Vince Taylor and Don Youngblood. That's a great analogy. Listen, let's not mince words here. Vince Taylor was a fantastic champ. He was miles ahead of Don Youngblood. No offense against the departed. We love Don too, but Vince got comfortable and he didn't bring his best, and he got beat fair and square. And he's made no excuses. He was the first one to shake his hand, and he said, "Look, I let my guard down. I got beat." And then he was really quick to say, "It ain't going to happen again."
So, Nick, you know these guys very well. So what you're telling me is that the Arnold was simply a Harold Kelly caught sleeping, or do you think that there's actually a rivalry between them?
No, there's a rivalry. I mean, it's when you see the wheelchair division, it's like, oh, it's motivational, inspirational, but these guys are serious. If I was in Harold's shoe, I would be pissed and be fired up. So I would be confident going in there too. So what people think, well, it's cocky or arrogance. It's not that. He has to go in there, show, you know what, I'm the king. I'm here to stay. So when you have this presence, all athletes should have it. They should go into the show saying, you know what, I'm here. You can feel the energy. And when you feel that energy, it can mess with the other athletes. So then all of a sudden, when they're starting to pose, they're thinking like he's better than me, and you start worrying. When you start worrying, you can tell in their face. So the judges can just instantly tell. So Harold has to show like he's the king and he's here to stay. If not, somebody who's willing to step up is going to take the title. It's that simple.
Terrick, don't call me Chris.
We do this every week.
Jeez. Let me ask you, so is that wrong? And isn't it, I've always felt a champion defines himself when he goes through adversity. So like when you lose, how you handle that defines you. I don't want to talk about this one female retired MMA fighter, but she was whooping everyone, right? And when she finally lost, it didn't seem like she took it too well. But I've always said, when everything's going for you, winning, this, that, and the other, man, you're supposed to feel great. But a champion is truly defined how he goes through adversity and still comes back. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I got to say, I think Harold Kelly is, one of the most dominant bodybuilders of all times. And when he wins convincingly. I've had the opportunity to judge him for the last 4 years. And every time he's come to the Olympia, he's won convincingly. And I don't want to use the word, easily, but, you could tell that Harold had a lot more mass than those guys. And his conditioning was just as good. I often, we get some of the guys here, we had Hadi Chupin, we had Chris Bumstead. And Flex, this, Bob, you all of you guys know this. In order to be a champion, in order to be Harold Kelly, you have to have a little bit of that Muhammad Ali. I'm the greatest. And I don't think that's arrogance. I don't think that's cockiness, but that's what you need to tell yourself every day so that you can continue to get better, because they don't have a target. All those guys have a target. Gabriele Andriuli, he can have a picture of Harold Kelly on the fridge saying, I'm going to beat him this year. I'm going to beat him. They can all have that picture. Harold doesn't have that picture. He can only convince himself that he is the greatest and he wants to continue. Or maybe I'm wrong, Harold. Do you have a picture of the previous years?
I always have a picture of myself before. I always look at the year before, what I look like. And, Weinberg will tell you this. Whenever I win a show, I always still ask him what I need to improve on. Ever since the first one I won, I went down to him and asked him, what do I need to improve on? I don't need to worry about how awesome I look. I need to know what I need to do to get better, and that's my main concern. So when I look at the next year, and my wife would tell you, I got every book, every year that I got ready. I look through my stuff every year. I look back at that one. I can tell you the year, what my percentage body fat was, how many weeks out I was at this number, how many weeks I was at this number, and literally this show, 5 weeks out, my skin fold was 17, and at my best 2019 Arnold, my skin fold was 19, and we already knew it, it's a wrap. Even 4 weeks out before the show, I already knew it was a wrap.
Harold, I want to ask you a question. Nick and Robert, wow, thought it was Bobby.
Like that.
You guys can answer this too because you guys have competed before. But whether an athlete tells the truth or not, we can feel when we're not winning and dominant. We can feel it. You can see it in the crowd's eyes, no disrespect. I can see it in the judge's eyes. We already know, you know what I mean? Yeah. We already know what's going on. And then we also know when we're incredibly dominant and it's like nobody can do it. You can feel that presence and everything. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I felt coming into the Arnold, the Olympia this show. When most guys are asking me how you feel, and I don't normally say this, and I'm not. I grew up from South Carolina, because I'm an old country boy, and my dad taught me. He's a Vietnam vet, and he always talked against arrogancy and always have integrity number one. But when I came to the show, I told him, I said, "Oh, yes, a wrap. It's done. It's done." Because I knew that I brought probably would say the best that I feel coming to the stage, and this is the most grainiest I ever looked. This is the leanest I ever was. So if the other ones won, I know this one's going to beat all the rest of the Olympias that I ever won.
Yeah, that's crazy because whenever I knew I achieved a look, I would actually write it on my bathroom mirror. It's done. It's a wrap. And, then I try to exceed against that. But we all know that for a fact. We can tell, we can feel that. So, yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Something about
Go ahead.
Something about Harold, what the guys don't know, and like you guys, you could see him on stage, but when he's backstage, he's pumping up the guy, like he's hard and lean and all this stuff. But when he's on stage and posing, as he poses more, he gets harder and leaner, and that just comes to life on stage. Just like Harold just got this thing about him that it just comes to life. So that's a dominant force. And you're right. When you go into a show, either you're going to win or lose. Most people that are on top got that feeling. It's just something inside you that you can feel, and it's just something in you. You can't describe it unless you're there, and that's exactly how I felt when I was competing.
All right.
Hey, Harold, are you just beginning? Do you think you have about 5-6 more Mr. Olympias in the future? What's the status right now? Do you have any minor injuries, shoulder or biceps injury? C-Bum was just here on the live with us. He goes, Terrick, I had an injury with my biceps. Do you have a lot more to go in the tank?
That's a hard question. No injuries. Thank God, no injuries. I'm very cautious how I lift. I lift heavy, but I'm very cautious how I lift. If I can tell you, my guys will tell me, we be in the third set, rep 4, if I feel something, all right, we done. Let's go to the next one. Because you can't go back and repair that tissue at 51, going on 52 years old. So I'm more cautious now how I lift in regards to injury. I'm wrapped up. I'm making sure I'm gonna still lift the heavy, but again, I'm more cautious now because I know the recoup time and the repair time. I don't have time for that. So every year I look at. Me and my wife to get together. We'll pray on it. We'll see what we're going to do for this year, and that's what we go forward with. I can't really say how long it's going to be, but as long as God put me in the position to be there, that's where I'm going to be.
So he gets 5. So here's the question. You're probably thinking, he gets 5 Olympia titles. Does he go for 7 to tie Arnold and some of the other greats, or does he go for 8? To beat Arnold?
I don't even think of them like that. It's one at a time.
Nick, you know what?
I never knew if I was going to be here. It was 1 at a time.
Yeah, I don't think there's any comparisons. No disrespect to you, but I don't think there's any comparisons because Harold have to go through so much more than any of us that standing up, walking on 2 legs. So You know,
I'm
I don't think
glad you say that, Flex.
Yeah,
I'm glad you say that.
you know, and I was in a wheelchair for a little over 6 months, and it's just so humbling. You know, trying to go to the gym. I'll be honest with you, being able to go to the bathroom, is the bathroom big enough? All that stuff. If you're out in public and stuff like that, how quick can you get to the bathroom? It's thoughts that just people with 2 legs just don't think about whatsoever. You know, even myself, I've been brutally honest. Like at nighttime, I can't put my leg on and walk because I'm too drowsy, right? And I have no feeling on one leg or the other as far as stability. So it's a chance that I fall. So the truth is, I have to have urine containers on the side of my bed because it's too dangerous for me to get up. I tell you, it's so effing humbling, man. It's just
Flex, it's a big thing to hear you say that, man. We honor you, man. We respect you. We love you, man. From my heart, watching you, getting some of your training techniques. I've learned a lot from you through your sessions and what you was doing way back to get me where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But like you just said, no one knows. Everyone looks at us as
before we got in the live. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we got you, bro.
So in terms of lifting, Nick said, hey, listen, it's basically the same. There's no difference. You just go to the gym and you lift, and it's the same. What is the cardiovascular? What are we doing for the cardio?
Well, a lot of times, even it's similar to the same, but there's a lot of variables because the stability. You know, not everybody can just have the balance. They have to strap themselves to the bench. They can't just grab the dumbbells and put it up. They got to have somebody hand it to them, or they do a lot more Smith machine. So over the years I've trained, I just don't think about like, okay, I got to do this that much more than other people. It's just I alter it to what works for me. But some of the lifts that Harold does, you know, some of the lifts, the techniques and stuff, it's just you need people to help you because you know you can't just move around the same. It's a lot harder than, you know, just somebody that's able to walk to train than somebody in a wheelchair. That's just hands down. And
it's so embarrassing because during the time, even now, when I try to train, equipment isn't built for an amputee. It isn't built for somebody in a wheelchair. So me trying to do leg extensions, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. And, you know, if I go and do leg press, then it actually bends the arch of my my prosthetic. So it's so different, even a mental mind frame, you know, it just, nothing's built for you. You know what I mean? I felt weird going into the gym with my wheelchair. I'm getting out and I'm hopping pit on my wheelchair. Just mentally, it's a whole different game. So I have so much more respect for you guys. Harold, man, I mean, to see you carrying the amount of muscle, you carrying everything and everybody else in a condition, I simply just say, what the F does anybody have an excuse for when they look at people like you? You can't make no damn excuse, man. So my hat off to all you guys.
So
thank you.
Terrick is, well, he might be back now. He's kind of frozen in time there in Brazil. So, but Nick, I've got you know, there is no King Kong unless there's a beast before him. Years ago, Nick, I remember us having a conversation. Geez, it's got to be 10, 12 years ago. And you had this crazy idea to not only get wheelchair bodybuilding and nationally recognized, but then to a pro stage and, of course, the Olympia. But take us back on a little history lesson, Nick. Where did it all start?
Yeah, definitely. Before we go to that flex, my brother-in-law's a W amputee. So there's a lot of things that people don't know about all the stuff, even with the amputees. So for you to do what you do and try to adjust to machines, especially getting into them, and you know, when you lock your legs in there, you know, since you're prosthetic, it's not so easy. So we talked many times, it's very emotional stuff like that. But
yeah, very
commend you for everything, for pushing and stuff like that.
No, please don't. I respect that, but please don't. You know, I don't want to preach to nobody, but I give God all the glory. I'm just an effed up person by myself. So the strength that He's given and everything, it's from Him, not from me at all.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So where did it all start, Nick?
So how it all started was like I was a powerlifter for many years, and then in 2006 or 2005, was the fall of 2005, I was like, you know what? I wonder if that bodybuilding for people in wheelchairs. I barely found anything because the internet wasn't really a thing that's pushing and stuff like that. So I found the 2006 NPC Wheelchair Nationals. I dominated the powerlifting scene. So when I got involved, I lost. And I was furious. It's like, I don't lose. But then seeing the guys inspired me. So I was on this mission. I said, the guys, like, this is amazing. We need to let the world know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, in the beginning, I was laughed at. Nobody believed in me, and I couldn't get answers. And I was like, well, what are these overall champions? Why are they not coming back? And they're like, well, we're not pros. I'm like, why isn't there a pro? And I couldn't get no answers. So eventually, I was asking a ton of people. I couldn't get no answers from anybody, but I didn't know the whole chain of things. So, long story short, in 2008, Bob told me, he guided me, and then eventually I got in contact with Mr. Jim Mannion, which then, we went back and forth, and he told me, he's like, if you really think you can make this happen after a long period of time, he's like, have at it. So I was on this mission. There's a lot of things that, I didn't know, but long story short, that's how I went to 2008 Olympia. I was looking for sponsors because I was going to put on the first pro show in 2009, which I was going to have Ronnie Coleman guest post, but that didn't happen. It wasn't until 2011 that I was able to make the first pro show happen. But in order to make that happen, how do you make all these guys past champions, pros? So there was these things with Victor Conavola. He was the 1995 NPC Wheelchair Nationals, and it started at the 1994 NPC Wheelchair Nationals in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is still there today with the same promoter, Frank Dalto. So I submitted, going back and forth with Jim Mannion, how I recommend do this. So we started from the beginning, 1994, and move it forward up until the 2011. So this was probably April when that got approved. So I was the 2011 NPC Wheelchair Nationals overall champion. So it wasn't until 2012 that the NPC Wheelchair Nationals was approved. Harold got involved at the 2010 NPC USA Wheelchair Champion in Louisiana. But I asked Mr. Jim Mannion if we could approve the USAs as well, kind of like, USAs, and he approved it. Harold won the 2011, which that's technically the first amateur show that was qualified. So technically, Harold is the first pro that actually earned his pro card. So then in Houston, I believe it's October of 2011, Harold won, and I got 7th, and there was a total of 8 guys at the first. That's the beginning of how everything happened.
Well, listen, congratulations, Nick. We talk about this at many of the seminars that we get a chance to do at a lot of the pro shows now, the Olympia, the Arnold. Without your work, this doesn't exist, and I know Harold's very appreciative of that, along with the other wheelchair champs. But it hasn't been all roses, has it, Nick? Trying to get a whole bunch of wheelchair guys. There are a lot of obstacles to get people to shows. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so now to make the first show happen, you got to realize, so once you turn pro, you can never compete at an amateur show. So all these guys have to trust me. Not everybody's like, and trust me with making this happen. So some of the guys like, I want to just stay amateur, because even though you win an overall, you win your spot as your pro card, doesn't mean that you're pro. It's until you sign the contract. Because the first pro show happened, but some of the guys still competed as amateurs. So I'm like, really? It's like, we need to work together as a brotherhood. So they competed, and the reason why it's like that is like, why wouldn't somebody want to turn pro if they earn the pro card? So it's for like, imagine if you're a bannerweight and you earned your pro card, and Peter Potter, at the time, the vice president, the one that explained this to me, he's like, well, if you're bannerweight, it's like, and some of those bannerweights didn't want to get the pro card because they didn't want to compete against the 300-pound open bodybuilder. So you know what? It's a choice. You can still stay amateur, but if you want to turn pro, you earned your spot.
By the way, just to interject on that, Nick, and you bring up a great point, a little bit unrelated, but on topic still. There was some speculation. I think our good friend Lee Priest put out something a couple weeks ago saying that he thought that we should get rid of the 212. The exact rationale that you just said is exactly why we put the 212. It was originally the 210, then it got moved a little bit, eventually settling into the 212. Listen, these guys didn't think they have a fair chance up against guys that are 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier. It has literally led to guys having careers in the 212 where they can compete on an even playing field. So go ask Flex Wheeler, I was going to say. Go ask Flex Lewis if he liked, having a 212 to compete in, or a Jose Raymond. Jose Raymond could have turned pro 10 years before, and he declined it every year. The most decorated NPC athlete of all time, by the way, for those that don't know. and said, why bother? I'm going to go up there to the pros and get my head kicked then. As soon as we put in that 212 division, boom, turned pro, had a great career, and there's plenty of others. Guy Cisternino, a lot of these guys come to mind. It gave them opportunity. It gave them an Olympia title to compete for. It opened them up for guest postings, endorsements, signing deals with companies. And some of these guys, they would have been not even on the map had that not included. So it's the same exact thing for wheelchair, Nick. So I'm glad you kind of mentioned that.
Bob, I'll even add to that. I guarantee you that it's saving some of these guys' life because it gives them something to look forward to and to be proud about and everything like that. Nick, I commend you on your foresight, but it took you having to be in that position of a wheelchair to even think of that. So same with me. I mean, my thoughts and opening up a nonprofit organization for amputees, it took me to have to be an amputee to be able to look at it because, who's before you or nobody done it before you. So, man, I give you a tremendous respect on that forethought and making it happen.
Yeah. If going back to
Nick.
Go ahead. That's great that you're doing the nonprofit. That's what Wheelchair Bodybuilding Incorporated is. It's a 501c3 that I founded in like 2008, which got approved in 2010. So Flex, afterwards, if you need guidance and stuff like that, where to move forward, just let me know. Text me.
100%.
But anyway.
So it's interesting because we had a competitor from Brazil that he competed at the Mr. Olympia, and he was on the first call out. He posed right next to Harold, and he competed in Brazil, Jean-Pierre. He competed in Brazil, and it was interesting because, I have that promoter mindset, and I believe I can promote everything. So I started this project, 100 wheelchair competitors on stage. And some people came up to me and said, hey, man, that's very honorable. That's very nice. But do you want to start with a number that's a little bit low? And I kept telling everybody, no, we're going to get 100 wheelchair guys on stage in Brazil, 100. And Nick Scott is like, Terrick, man, I'll support you. I'll go down to Brazil, but maybe 100 is too much. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. We're going to get 100 wheelchair guys on stage. We're going to fucking make this happen. And I started promoting. And it turned out we got 12 guys, right?
Hey, Bob, Terrick is over there paying guys. Hey, listen, I just want you sitting in a wheelchair.
I know, right? They're not even wheelchair guys, right? They're just guys sitting down on the job.
Yeah.
Listen, here's the funny part to this is it's only taken Nick every bounce of energy he has in about 12 to 15 years to get 10 guys on the Olympia stage.
And the best thing is Nick was so supportive of me, and I felt like the whole time all he wanted to say is, are you fucking kidding me? You know how hard this is? And he was supportive the whole time.
So then it got more, because what happened was when doing this over the years, the most I got at the NPC Wheelchair Nationals was like 24 or 27 of actually wheelchair athletes that's competing. And what Terrick's talking about is not just athletes, just anybody in wheelchair. Well, that's a whole different thing. Like 100 is like that can be done. But I thought he was meaning like 100 athletes. I'm like, I was like, I had this vision. I was like, you know what? If this is what you want, I will support it. So then I said, I'll be there in Brazil. So last year, Terrick was judging the show, and I just appeared right beside the judges' table and I was documenting. And then when I was watching the amateurs documenting, I looked at the 7 guys like these are phenomenal. And I was like, and one of these guys need their pro card. So what I did was I texted the IFVV during the show.
Wow, nice.
I said, like one of these guys, like, would you consider making them a pro? Like, and then I said, Terrick's the head judge and he can verify it. And within 30 minutes, as the judging was going on, he got back with me. And I said, and then after prejudging, I talked to Terrick and Tamer. I was like, listen to this situation. And they confirmed it. And then what happened then, Terrick?
Well, so, Tyler asked me, Terrick, what are you seeing? And I said, listen, the guy that won the show has a tremendous back double biceps, which is pro bona fide for sure. His conditioning is pro. He needs to gain more size, especially if he's going to go against Harold Kelly. But then again, that's the whole freaking division. You know what I mean? But it turned out that the guy went to the Olympia stage and placed fourth. And once he got his pro card on stage and we honored him, he calls me and goes, I got to get this King Kong guy. What do I need to do? And I'm like, you're going to have to eat a lot, brother. You're going to have to eat a lot, but it was, it was a great story. Obviously, my numbers were off, but I don't regret the fact that I was a dreamer and I wanted to have 100 wheelchair guys. And hey, listen, maybe I can't get it done, but maybe in 20, 30 years, right, Nick, somebody else can come in and can get it done. But that's how you move a promotion. You believe it, you try it, you might shoot for the stars, but if you don't get there, you might land on the moon.
No, Terrick, we're going to make it happen. And this is the strategy because it's in motion. So, for example, there's Jean-Pierre. He got his pro card. Then I was like, you know what? I asked Terrick if he could guest post at the pro show the following day. They approved that. So then Jean-Pierre could guest post at the Arnold Classic South America. And I had a strategy because I needed something to show that Jean-Pierre competed, because then my next strategy was to get him approved for a special invite for the compete at the Olympia. And Tyler, Jermaine, they all approved it. So that's how Jean-Pierre was able to qualify for the Olympia with a special invite. So moving forward, this is the strategy I had because I wanted to make the 2023 Arnold Classic South America in Brazil a pro qualifier and add the pro wheelchair to that show, which is now approved. And Tyler Mannion did approve it. Jim Mannion did approve it. So this year it is a pro qualifier. So how do we get athletes there? Is that they're going to be able to earn their pro card, but we're going to see if not just wheelchair competitors, but just anybody in a wheelchair. That way we can grow the numbers. It's got to be somewhere. And I'm going to help you make that dream happen. Like the people that say shoot for the stars, it's not just shooting for the stars. We're going to walk on the moon, baby. Walk on the moon. You walk on real.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Nick, and Harold. Maybe you can also chime in. When you guys go on stage, Nick, you give a background of what happened with the competitor. And it's been great for me because I've gained knowledge. Hey, complete, right? Incomplete. And you explain that. And it makes us bond. It makes us bond with the competitor. I got to know a little bit more about Harold. He had the car accident, and this. Why did you choose to do that? What was the idea behind it?
So in 2015, when I agreed to retire from wheelchair bodybuilding, be the voice of wheelchair bodybuilding, as Mr. Jim and I, we spoke and stuff like that. So moving forward, when I retired on the 2015 Dallas Pro stage, then that's in the transition when I was dealing with Bob Lorimer that he finally approved the 2016 Arnold Classic. So as I was thinking, how am I going to make this division stand out amongst all these others, because they have rivalries, but I don't want to make it just a rivalry. The guys can have the rivalry, but what can I add an element that people can really connect to? So me being a professional speaker, I tell stories. So let's condense these stories to have these athletes tell their stories in such a powerful impact. Like, Harold, he swerved to miss a deer, hit the tree, and his seatbelt is what, Harold can tell a story. But it's those little things that they're like, ooh, it's relatable. So then just be quick, short, powerful, and then here's the athlete. That way people are like very intrigued about their injury level. That way it's educational, but at the same time, it's very marketable and people get inspired. And that way it can be a water ripple effect around the world saying, you know what, this can happen to me. And I don't want that.
Yeah. Brilliant thought, man. Because again, I would always look at people in a wheelchair or amputees, and you wonder, wow, what's their story? How did that happen? So what it does is it humanizes these athletes and then makes it very relatable to the audience to hear that story. You end up having more compassion and you support them more because they need that type of support, what they're doing. So I think that was brilliant.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part because it makes us bond with the competitor. Now, Harold, when Nick is telling your story prior to you entering the stage, do you want people to know what happened to you and then to see the strength that you came out of this accident as this superhero? Is that the final objective?
You know what? It exactly. Like Reflect said, it has helped bond people to us, and it makes us become real now. Mm-hmm. Now, a person just won't pass by and say, "Oh, he's in a wheelchair." If they know what happened, they, "Oh, that guy had an accident." And he's not now. He's not a guy in a wheelchair. He's a guy that had a car accident. Oh, I can relate to a guy having a car accident because I can have that every day. Other than he's in a wheelchair, so what happened to him? And then now it's like a standoff. Is like, wow, he's in a wheelchair. I wonder what happened to him. Now you know exactly what happened to him, or now they want to come and relate to you. Like, yeah, man, I had a friend of mine had a car accident, but I'm gonna tell him about you. I'm gonna let him know that you had the exact same accident, and you could be doing what he's doing. It gives some inspiration, connect ability to this person. A person that has cerebral palsy. Oh, that's why he moves a little bit. He's just not in a wheelchair. He can't walk because he has cerebral palsy, but he's still competing. So you can still do it too if you focus a little bit. Or why his stomach is a little more protrude than this guy. He must have got more conditioning. No, it's a T6, T7, and he can't really use his abs to get ready. You're right. So the judges, and that's another point too. And Nick also is another spear to understanding that when he tell you the levels, to get the judges to understand this now. This is the judge thing, to whereas if it's a T11, 12 and it's T5, 6, yeah, he's gonna get judged the same way, but actually he can't have abs. It's not he didn't have a good meal plan, he didn't work on his abs. He has less muscle control in there. 5, 6 doesn't have that control for his abdominal. So that's why his abdominal look at that. So yeah, you're gonna mark him for abs, but his points can come from his real lat spread, his double bicep, or his side chest. So it's like Johnny Quinn have an awesome back, double bicep, and side chest. So he can grab all those points and may lose over here, but he still can come in a good point status. So the level of an injury makes a big difference to a judge side of it, to the regular person that's listening, and to let them know, where our injury is at.
Terrick, can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Harold, how do you respond when people look at you from a distance, or kids kind of responding to you? I always make it a purpose to say hi to them first. You want to touch it or anything like that. And, and it helps them to understand, more. How do you respond when kids or people look at you when you're out in public?
And you're right. At first, when I see him looking at me, especially a kid, I know they're questioning their mind, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then he may ask his mom, "He's in a wheelchair," and I was off the top of like, "Yeah, I had a car accident," and they're like, "Oh, you had a car accident?" Yeah. So when you ride in your car, make sure you wear your seatbelt. And I kind of like open it up to them, whereas I'm not a monster. I'm in a wheelchair because I had a car accident. So you're gonna walk again? Maybe not, but I'm still good. Look at my arm bicep.
Yeah.
You kind of like open it up to them. They're inquisitive. They're gonna ask the honest question. You gotta give them an honest answer. You can't give them no fluff. You can't give the kids the fluff. You can ask them the real deal and let them chew on that. The parents the one who want the fluff, but the kids can give them. They'll ask you a real question. You got the real answer.
And the parents would be like, "No, don't say that." I'm like, "No, it's okay."
Yeah, say that. Yeah. You're right. Right. The parents want to downsize something and not give them reality. And the kids want the reality, and it's up to us to give them the reality of what's really going on. And they can swallow it. Mm-hmm. They can swallow it more than most parents think.
Yeah.
And
the biggest thing. Go ahead.
The biggest thing with all this is to close the gap of people like, they want to know what happened, but they're so afraid to ask. So if you get out there and people start talking about it, saying, just say what happened, and that's the key. So to make this, the strategy to really do this is like, I love when Bob and I do our thing, because I just like telling the story. And then Bob is the official voice of bodybuilding. That way it's just me telling the story and then do the official voice of Bob. And it's just kind of like reinforces everything to make things go flow. Cause it's just a strategy to try to make this larger than life around the world. That's all it comes down to. It's like, how do you do this?
And, myself, just listening to you guys, a lot of times we are scared to ask questions because we feel that sometimes the person will be offended or insulted by the question. But like Harold said, I want people to understand what transpired with me. I want them to know exactly. Now, my question to you guys is this. There are people who get in car accidents every day. And, like you said, Nick, it could happen to all of us. There is that moment where they communicate to you, you are going to be in a wheelchair. And then you have to realize that your mindset has to be very positive. You have to move forward. What is the lesson that you guys can teach us or talk to us about saying, okay, I'm not going to allow depression to hit me. I'm going to move forward and become a superhero and win the Olympia and compete in bodybuilding and do something amazing with my life. Can you guys elaborate on that?
Harold, you can start, champ.
I keep it real simple. I keep it real simple with guys. I take them back to what my dad taught me when I was young, man, and that's what really got me through all of this since day one. And my dad always taught me a long time ago: don't focus on what you can't, focus on what you can control. My dad's an old Vietnam vet. Either it's a go or no go. It's no gray area. It's no in between. So pretty much, if you're still alive and you're still breathing, you got some more. You got more to do. You got more to do. And one of my biggest thing is walking is overrated. Walking is getting from point A to point B. That's it. You get from point A to point B by walking. I can get from point A to point B. I just do it in a wheelchair. And that's how simple it is. A lady come at the door and she was like, "Oh, I get it." I said, "No, I'm a young man. I'm gonna open the door for you." And I open the door for her and she comes in. She said, "Oh, wow, I'm supposed to hold the door." No, why? Because I'm in a wheelchair? No. I just can't walk. I can hold the door. So I kind of like every day is a lesson. Every day is a lesson being taught to people that see me in a wheelchair, and I exemplify it. It's like I'm just in a wheelchair. That's it. I don't have a disease. I just can't walk. Just keep it right being there. I just can't walk. And so when a person have these issues, when it comes on you, understand what the issue is. Solve the problem from the issue. That's it. That's all you have to do. Don't give it more power than it has.
Harold, how long have you felt that way? Did it take a while for you to get there? Did you have dark thoughts before that happened? I still look at those people. And, I
wish I could say I went through a period, but bro, when I was in the bed at the hospital, it hit me. Again, my dad's a Vietnam vet. I wasn't raised with a cherry spoon. My dad tore my butt up. And so it was like, if you do, you don't do. So when this happened, it was like, my mind had already been set that way. I live my life that way. Either it's a go or no go. So I'm ex-military too. So when I had the accident, it was like, okay, what do I need to do now? The doctor was like, well, you need time to marinate on it because you may not be able to walk. I asked, what do I need to do now? That's what I asked. So he told my mom, well, he may need a little time to, decompress and understand where he is at, what's going on. My mom said, what did he say? He said, what do we need to do now? So I need to do what you need to do tomorrow. Let's go. That's pretty much it. I'm sorry. That's how I was built. Everyone is not built like me. I understand that. And I can speak on the other side of it and talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. But for me to keep it real, that's how I was built. I'm not built over crying over spilled milk.
Wow. So Harold, I get there because I still literally look at people with two legs and I'm like, wow, how beautiful is that? Or I look at old pictures of me. Yeah. It just makes me emotional. It's like, wow, people don't realize how beautiful two legs are.
Yeah.
Being able to walk on two legs, meaning, yeah.
I look at my picture because I was an NGA pro bodybuilder before. That I was like number 2 or 3 in the whole league, and I was getting better. And I had a car accident happened like 3 weeks before me getting another ready for a bodybuilder competition in Atlanta. I was getting ready for another bodybuilding competition. So I was the biggest. I was like 202, 6 foot, 202. Body fat was like right at 6%, and I was feeling real good about it too. When I look at those pictures, I'm like, okay, that was my era then. That's an era of life. That's era. I'm in this era now, and tomorrow will be another era. So I don't get stuck in an era of my life because life keep going on, and I'm always trying to make it better. I'm always want my tomorrow better than what from yesterday was, and that is how I see life. I tell guys better. Guys tell me, I used to bench. That's what you used to do. What you can do today and what we can do tomorrow. Used to, that's done. You can't get that back. You can't cash that in.
Harold, you've had quite the storied history, going back some years now with your bodybuilding. And you haven't lost too much. Before you lost the Arnold, who was the last guy you lost to?
Oh, Nick.
So
Is that a loaded question?
allow me to load this one up, okay? So Nick Scott, the Beast, actually beat Harold some years ago, right? Now, Nick has since retired from bodybuilding. He hung up the trunks to pursue being on the other side of the camera and all that, get this wheelchair thing going. So, Harold, my question to you is this. If in order to get some revenge, do you have any plans on throwing your hand into the ballroom dancing and taking on Nick the Beast Scott and beating him on the dance floor?
Well, he got to come back to the ballroom.
Huh?
He got to come back to the ballroom.
You can get him there, buddy. You can't get him on stage, but Nick, you better watch out. If Harold takes some ballroom dancing like you have, my brother, you could be in trouble.
You told me to go to the ballroom.
He said,
Ballroom dancing.
Terrick, it's hard to see whether you're trying to talk or not because your face is mostly frozen all the time. But I was going to ask, they're bringing back the Master Olympia. Do you know if there's going to be a wheelchair version of that?
Yeah, I believe so. I gotta confirm with Alina Popa. I'm just a little bit dazed because what he said was something that I just like. Walking is overrated. Is just going from point A to B. I mean, it's just like Harold. You have no idea how powerful, how strong that statement is from somebody on a wheelchair. I'm going to use that quote for the rest of my life. The positive outlook, the strong outlook that you have in life is unparalleled, unmatched. I mean, I am just flabbergasted by your mindset, and I know it comes from your dad, but man, walking is overrated. Is just from point A to point B, and I still open. This guy is a King Kong in the mind.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't got there yet. No, because I mean, the first time I came home, it really hit me because I have a 2-story. So trying to get upstairs and how difficult that is, and actually how dangerous it is. So we walk upstairs all the time, right? But we never walk upstairs and look down and say, wow, that's a long fall. So that, and I was like, all my pictures have 2 legs. I bought this house when I had 2 legs. The last time I was in here, I had 2 legs. So I haven't got there yet. I prayed that I do. I have gotten a lot better, but yeah, that's beyond powerful.
When I had my car accident, I had a 2-story house too. I sold it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that because I feel already going down the stairs. Yeah,
I wasn't trying to buy that thing going up and down slow. No. We're gonna sell this and get a flat. Be good. And actually, right there, the day after I got my foot, because my foot had 30-degree burn on the bottom of it for the front of the car. But after that wound control there was down, then he was like, "Well, when do you want to start learning how to drive?" And I'm like, "When can I?" And it was like, okay, let's do it tomorrow. He said, well, normally you take about 2 or 3 weeks before you can do that. I said, no, let's do it tomorrow. I mean, we good. And then the slide board took me a few hours to learn. And again, I was built. That's another thing too. A lot of guys in the wheelchair is not as built as I am. I already had this muscle to move myself around a whole lot better than the most people. Mm-hmm. And even in the rehab side of it, and it was, had these guys doing shoulder exercises with a 5 and a 10. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Well, that help their shoulders get stronger. I said, well, how much do they weigh? They weigh like 180. Why 5 or 10 pound shoulder exercise is going to help them with? They need to get as heavy as they can get on their shoulders, make their shoulders strong so they won't blow their shoulders out. Mm. They were like, oh, are you a certified trainer? I said, I'm a pro bodybuilder.
Nice.
So they was teaching. They're teaching these guys in the rehab places don't use heavy weight. And I'm like, why are you telling these guys this if they got to move their whole body from left to right and you wonder why their shoulders blowing out? Because the shoulders not strong enough. They got to put enough weight on that, work with that weight to build that muscle up enough to be able to move that 100, 140, 50, 60 pounds left or right on the slide board.
I'd like to add to that, Harold. You're probably more bigger than probably like 80% of the people on the planet. So, but I commend you. Hearing you say that, I'm not ready to receive that yet. It's just crushing me, but I'll get there. At the end of the day, this is my life. I'm going to have to get with it. So, but thank you so much for sharing that. It does give me a different outlook. Yeah, brother. But I haven't got to that yet. Walking point A to point. Nah, not at all. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I can understand.
One place you will be, Flex, is in Columbus, receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award from none other than the Governor himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nick, talk to me about the Arnold coming up.
Okay, so I want to answer Flex because Flex is not there yet. So let me tell you the whole thing with the ballroom dancing, the powerlifting, and the bodybuilding, how it all comes. And I'll tell you about the Arnold. So my accident happened in '98, and I was 16 at the time. And after my accident, I wanted to kill myself. I was thinking how many pills I need to swallow, or I need to catch just to end my life because I hated it.
Me
I was
too.
in a very, very dark place. I hated it. I asked God, like, why? Why me? I couldn't get no answers. So I'm like, I'm just going to end it. Then there's things we do why, and there's things we stop, and why we stop doing these. So I looked at my mom, because the whole reason why I wanted to make myself as a player of football, to make it, to provide for my mom, my dad. So I stopped this negative thought process. I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out because I'm going to make it for you. So I went through a phase because this is before the internet, MySpace, and all this stuff. I was very depressed because people called my name, put me down, and I just ate food to comfort me. My weight went up to 300 pounds. And then that's when I was thinking, what is there for me? And then that's where powerlifting. I was like, if I can't do squats and all this stuff, the one thing I could do was to bench press. But I wanted to win because I wanted something to give to my mom. And it was the awards. It inspired me just to like bring my mom home with a medal, and she was so happy, and that made me feel good. And I felt like that's my purpose, is to make something of myself for my mom, to make her proud. Nobody inspired me. Nobody motivates me. It was that concept of my mom. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do more powerlifting competitions, powerlifting. And I beat everybody in the world 2 times, not in the wheelchair. I was just on a mission. I was 19 when I was 19, I was weighing 171 bench press and 450 pounds. I was just dominating people. And this is without bench shirts and stuff like that. And I was on this mission. And eventually, after a few years, I was just done. I was like, what else is there? And that's when I Googled if they had bodybuilding for wheelchair. But I just graduated with my diploma to show my mom, look, I'm making myself something, because I was proud to just do it for her. Then when I got involved with wheelchair bodybuilding, I thought I was going to win, and it just crumbled me because I didn't win. I was so mad, so furious. But then I looked at the guys. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I saw like Jensen McKinney, he has CP, cerebral palsy. He was shaking real bad. And I was like, you know what? Like, I started crying backstage, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be on a mission to just show this around the world, and then I'm going to do something for my mom with this whole thing, because at the time she has cancer. And she gets a rare blood cancer, which she passed away 2 years ago to it. And I always arranged my travels because she always had her doctor's appointments on Monday. So I always traveled so I can go to her appointments and be there by her side and all this stuff. Because I moved to Texas, because the whole concept is moving forward. That's why I did ballroom dancing, to just do these awards, just to make her baby boy proud. Because the concept is, I'm going to put pro shows, qualifiers all over the world, add more pro shows. That way it grows it around the world. But the next phase is funding. That's why I'm moving in the next phase, which is the funding, because it's difficult with companies. So I'm pushing this whole real estate thing here in Texas. And the whole concept is it's going to be based on SES with angel wings. It's my mother's initials. That way, as this goes down the wrong, one day when I leave this world, that way there's a company and a foundation there to fund these athletes' dream so they can keep competing to grow this around the world. And that's the ultimate plan for everything I do. It's not about anything bigger.
Well, that's awesome, guys. This is probably one of the best lives I've ever done it. And you guys are truly inspiring. Harold, you're going to be competing at the Arnold, correct?
Correct.
Are you winning that? Is it in the bag?
Oh yeah, we bringing it home. We got a little more calibrating to do, but like I said, I lost to Arnold, and I won 5 years in a row, and I lost the 6th one. So that's one I want to recap. So trust me, I'll be in my A game on that at that location also.
Very nice, guys. One of the best lives I have ever done. I will be using this quote from the Olympia wheelchair champion. Terrick, walking is overrated. It's just getting from point A to point B. This guy is a true superhero. So is Nick Scott. And I can say one thing, Nick, when you came down to Brazil, and you spoke with every wheelchair competitor in Brazil, and I tried to translate, I can tell you that your mother would be so proud of your energy. Your energy is captivating. As a promoter, as somebody who works in bodybuilding, to be around you is a real gift. And you know, you don't need to walk anywhere, Nick, because your energy is so big. We just got to get close to you and we will be better off. So congratulations on huge accomplishment. You've done great for the wheelchair division. President Jim Mannion has supported all the way. I want to also thank my co-host, Bob Ciccarillo, the voice of bodybuilding, who's going to be announcing the Arnold Classic. And according to Harold, it's going to be new. And I wanna thank Flex Wheeler. Flex also he lost his leg, but he's also giving us a great moment of inspiration. Every time I work with Flex, he's like, Terrick, let's do that. And Flex, I know you might not be where Harold is, but the whole world is not where he is. I guarantee you that. You know what I mean?
We only need one Harold. One is good enough. Yeah.
Let me finish with this, Harold. Walking may be overrated, but winning sure ain't.
That's right.
But to
That's
keep
right.
Harold's a phenomenal advocate for the sport, but you know, I may be pushing it, but if it wasn't for Harold and the other athletes to be like a brotherhood and the women like a sisterhood, none of this works. And without the fans, like, you guys are phenomenal. And all these comments about we're lucky we skipped leg day, bro. Really? Really?
Oh, come on. Look, Nick, listen, nobody is worse at puns than Nick, okay? He's always killing me on stage with his, that's how I roll and all this other stuff. And
I actually like when people say, we skip leg day. Like, some of the guys take offense to it, but it cracks me up. All you guys making comments and stuff like that, at times we see it and we get a kick out of it because it is what it is.
It is what it is. Gentlemen, thank you so much. The great Nick Scott, Flex Wheeler, 4-time Arnold Classic champion, will receive a lifetime award at the Arnold Classic stage from Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. The 2000 Mr. USAs and the Master of Ceremonies for the Arnold Classic and the Mr. Olympia. And the superhero, Harold Kelly, King Kong. He'll be back on stage. My name is Terrick Guindy with Olympia Live. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen,